Okay, welcome back to the second video in our short program on the power of empathy. In this video, we are going to look at how to show empathy and provide some hints and tips for you to develop your skills in this area. Now, showing empathy is relatively simple and anyone can learn how to do it. And here's a few techniques that will help you to get started. The first one is to listen actively. Now, listening is a crucial component of empathy. When you listen actively, you focus on the speaker, you ask questions, and you show genuine interest in what they're saying. Active listening helps you understand their perspective and shows that you care about their feelings. Okay, here's an example maybe of a typical conversation between two people where one person is showing active listening skills and empathy. So just focus on what is being said by the second person in this scenario. So the first person maybe says to a friend, "Hey, I'm really nervous about this job interview tomorrow." And then the second person says, "I understand that. Job interviews can be really stressful. What is it you're most worried about?" And then the response might be, "Well, I'm not sure I'll know how to answer all the questions that they might ask me." And then the response from the second person might be, "Well, that's a common concern. Have you thought about practicing your responses with a friend?" And then the response might be, "No, I haven't. That's a really good idea." So in that example, the second person, person B, is showing active listening skills by acknowledging person A's feelings and concerns and asking open-ended questions to encourage them to share more information about their experience. Person B is also giving some suggestions to person A, how to help maybe prepare better for the interview, which shows that they're actively engaged in the conversation and trying to help. So, open-ended questions encourage the speaker to elaborate on their thoughts and feelings. And they're a great way to gather information and show that you're interested in understanding someone else's perspective. So let's have a little dig deep into the open-ended questions for a minute now. Let's maybe give us some good examples of open-ended questions that you might want to use when you're developing your empathy with a certain person in a certain situation. So you could say things like, "Can you tell me more about how you're feeling about that?" Now, this question shows that you're interested in the other person's experience and want to understand their emotions and perspective in more depth. You might say, "What do you think might be causing that issue?" A question like that encourages the other person to reflect on a situation and consider possible causes, which can help them feel more empowered to find a solution. Or you might want to use questions like, "How can I best support you right now?" This question shows that you're willing to help and want to be a supportive presence in the other person's life, while also giving them the opportunity to express their needs and preferences. We could also look at questions like, "Well, what would be a positive outcome for you, and what would that look like in this situation?" A question like this helps the other person envisage a positive outcome and can encourage them to focus on solutions rather than dwelling on problems. Maybe we could try something like, "Well, what have you tried so far, and what's been successful or what hasn't worked?" A question like that shows that you're interested in the other person's efforts to address a challenge and also want to learn from their experiences. It can also help the other person to reflect on their own strengths and weaknesses in terms of problem solving. So that's just a few examples of questions, and maybe you want to make a note of these questions and see if you can use something similar to that in the next conversation where you're looking at demonstrating some empathy, or empathy is needed, and see how it goes. Okay, let's look at this point about validating emotions, because this is quite important. When we're looking at validating emotions, what it means is that we're acknowledging and accepting someone's feelings without judgment. So when you validate someone's emotions, you show that you understand their experience and empathize with them. So let's just focus on that for a minute, maybe give a little example as well. Let's say person A says, "I'm really frustrated that my friend keeps cancelling plans at the last minute." Person B can then say in response, well, I can understand why you would feel frustrated. It can be disappointing when plans fall through like that. Now, in this example, person B is validating person A's emotion of frustration by acknowledging their experience and empathizing with them, by saying, I can understand why you would feel that way. But person B is showing that they're listening and trying to connect with person A's emotional state. Now, the second sentence, it can be disappointing when plans fall through unexpectedly, offers further validation and empathy for person A's experience. But in this example, person B is also not being judgmental and saying, oh, that's really terrible, the other person to have let you down like that. They're simply emphasizing with person A and showing some understanding. So another tip on how you use and develop empathy in conversational terms is reflecting on what you hear. Now, reflection means summarizing what you hear to show that you understand the speaker's perspective. So it also helps you to clarify your understanding of their thoughts and feelings. Let's go through an example of reflecting on what you're hearing in a conversation when you're showing empathy. So let's say person A says something like, I'm really anxious about giving a presentation at work tomorrow. And person B says, well, it sounds like you're feeling a lot of pressure about the presentation. Is there anything in particular that makes you feel anxious? So in this example, person B is reflecting on what they're hearing from person A by summarizing their main point and reflecting it back to them. Saying it sounds like you're feeling a lot of pressure about the presentation shows that person B is listening closely to person A's words and trying to understand their emotional states. Now, the follow-up question, is there anything in particular that makes you feel anxious, demonstrates further reflection by encouraging person A to explore the source of their anxiety and providing an opportunity for them to share more about their experience. So in the next video, we're going to look at bringing the program together and some useful tips on using body language and some simple do's and don'ts for demonstrating and building your empathy with others. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you soon in the next video.